I am using my hair mask now. As you can see, I use this one to what should I say? Clip my hair, make my hair stay in the same position for a while. Maybe I will leave the mask for 15 or 20 minutes. While waiting, I can listen to the music or just watching video like this.
Gabriel walking in their direction. He
Watching
was carrying
YouTube.
a lamb with him. Bathsheba smiled and dashed to the house to fix herself. Mrs. Hurst let him in, so the man waited patiently for Bathsheba. Meanwhile, the lady was already done in the mirror. She sneaks out of the room, nervous and excited at the same time. Slowly, Bathsheba went to the living room smiling. Gabriel, on the other hand, looks glad to see the lady. He stood up to greet her. Without further delay, Mr. Oak handed Bathsheba the sheep he had brought. As Mrs. Hurst witnessed such a thoughtful gesture, she hurriedly went to the kitchen to prepare tea for the visitor. Just after Bathsheba's aunt left, Gabriel went near the lady and told her his real intention. Bathsheba looked at Mr. Oak to hear him out. The man kept looking around, bothered that Mrs. Hurst could hear him. Before Bathsheba's aunt could get near, Gabriel confessed a marriage proposal to the lady. Bathsheba looked at him and was extremely shocked. Mr. Oak continued and told the lady that it was his first time asking a woman to marry him. However, Bathsheba never thought twice and responded no. She felt that Gabriel was rushing. Hearing that, Gabriel's sparkling eyes turned lonely. His ego got hurt after being rejected. He immediately bid goodbye and left the house. He felt humiliated by a lady. Mr. Oak walked so fast without looking back. Bathsheba, on the other hand, got to her senses and realized how she had hurt the man. She felt guilt inside her and was bothered by it. Bathsheba decided to follow Gabriel to tell him something. Outside, Mr. Oak had already walked far. Bathsheba ran to get near him. She shouted to call his attention. Gabriel heard her and stopped walking. There, Bathsheba told the man that rejecting his proposal doesn't mean she wouldn't marry him. She reasoned out that she still needed more time to think about it. Gabriel was glad to hear that and became hopeful. To make Bathsheba more interested in accepting his proposal, he proudly recited all his properties, which included 100 acres of land and a herd of 200 sheep. He also promised the lady he could buy her a piano if she wanted to. Bathsheba gasps for air as she hears the assets of Mr. Oak in case she would marry him. Seeing how her face looked delighted, Mr. Oak continued and added that he badly wanted to build a family with her, planning to have 2 kids. Bathsheba had a change of facial expression. She told the man that she didn't want a husband, to be a man's property. Bathsheba told Mr. Oak that she is willing to be a bride at a wedding but doesn't want a husband after. Listening to that, Gabriel frankly told Bathsheba that her mindset was stupid. Insulted, the lady told the man to better get off from her and proudly told him she was more educated than him. Mr. Oak just smiled at the lady and bid goodbye. While Gabriel was soundly asleep, his dog woke him up. His untrainable sheepdog jumped into the sheep's fence and startled the animals. The herd of sheep was so afraid that they desperately wanted to move out from the fence. With that, the fence broke, and all of the sheep escaped. Gabriel hurriedly went outside with his rifle to see what was going on. The flock of sheep was gone. Gabriel ran as fast as he could and saw the sheep standing near the cliff. Some already jumped and got eliminated by the sharp rocks below. Gabriel shouted and went near them. But he was too late. All of the sheep fell off the cliff and died. Gabriel shed tears. His body became weak and trembled. He just sat on the ground, punching it hard, regretting everything he lost in just a snap. The next day, Mrs. Hurst received a letter and joyfully relayed its message to Bathsheba. The lady inherits her uncle's farm. This includes a large agricultural property and an old manor house. Delighted, Bathsheba was in tears, hugging her aunt tightly. The lady immediately packed up her things to live separately from her aunt. Meanwhile, Gabriel suffered so much after he lost his sheep. He also became jobless after that.
Baru, Freshly Air Care Lavender, kesegaran alami, damaikan suasana.
He also became jobless after that. He roamed to the city to find one. There, a fine wage was offered for the job of a Queen's soldier. One of the recruiters saw his potential because of his manly figure, but Gabriel was not interested and returned to the countryside. It was early morning, and poor Gabriel started his day early to look for a job. A little while, he saw a commotion in a barn. The farmers rattled. Some ran away while others tried to put out the fire. Gabriel went in to help. He immediately led in putting out the fire. Mr. Oak targeted to save the barn from burning because the farmer's production is kept there. Seeing that a small part of the roof is still burning, he wet all his clothes and grabbed a ladder. He climbed to the roof with a tool to damage the roof and stop the fire. Gabriel successfully stopped the fire. Unexplainable happiness to help was felt by Mr. Oak after. After the adrenaline rush, Gabriel felt his body hurt. Regardless, he went to the sink to clean himself and his bruises. Morning came, and the farm owner arrived to check on the damages brought by the incident. She was Bathsheba. Bathsheba was looking for the heroic man who saved her farm. She was startled that a familiar guy was pointed by the farmer, Gabriel Oak. The lady expressed her gratitude toward Mr. Oak and offered him a job at the farm. She also told the man she felt sorry after hearing that he had lost all his sheep. Gabriel gladly agreed to her offer to work as a shepherd. Payday came, and Bathsheba led the distribution of her workers' wages. There, she fired Mr. Pennyways, who went missing during the fire incident. Bathsheba told the man that he was not useful anymore, because he was so irresponsible at times he was most needed. Mr. Pennyways is a loyal farmer of Bathsheba's uncle and was part of the farm's success. Gabriel was teary-eyed in the room as he witnessed how Bathsheba fired her employee. Gabriel knows the feeling of losing a job, and he deeply sympathizes with the farmer. On that same day, the heroic Mr. Oak was introduced to the employees, and Bathsheba introduced herself as a farm mistress. She also warned everyone never to belittle a woman like her taking charge. After orienting everyone to restore the partly burned farm, Bathsheba ordered them to continue working. All went well for Bathsheba after inheriting her uncle's farm. With her maid companion Liddy, Bathsheba confidently carries a small bag carrying a sample of harvested grain to a market. She was a head turner at the event where buyers and sellers of grains met to trade. Minutes passed by, but no one went near Bathsheba's sample. Because of that, she called Farmer Stone's attention, a buyer of his uncle's grains when he was alive. Bathsheba introduced herself and greeted the man with kind words. It was effective, because Farmer Stone inspected her sample and got interested in purchasing it. With that, Bathsheba told the man that it cost £5. However, Farmer Stone bid for a lower price, which irritated Bathsheba. The lady ignored him and traded for other buyers for a reasonable price. The people there, including Farmer Stone, noticed how Bathsheba was intimidating even on her first time trading. She never let herself be fooled by the wise buyers around her. After being ignored, Farmer Stone immediately told the lady that he had already agreed with Bathsheba's price. Mr. Stone won the bidding and successfully bought Bathsheba's grains. At the church, Bathsheba glanced at a handsome bachelor, much older than her age. He is William Baldwood, famously recognized as a prosperous man. Liddy noticed her and told the lady how rich and handsome he was. Bathsheba got curious and eagerly listened to her maid companion. While talking about men, Bathsheba opened up to the lady that she once rejected a man who proposed to her, the man that she would instead like than love. The next day, Bathsheba was shooting a bird when William Baldwood approached her. He just lives in the neighborhood but was riding a horse. Bathsheba introduced herself as Farmer Everdean's niece. They talked for a while. After that, the bachelor left, leaving Bathsheba smiling. Nearby the chimney, Liddy and Bathsheba were busy arranging papers. There, Liddy recited a corny Valentine's card to Bathsheba. The maiden teased the lady about sending one to Mr. Baldwood. The next day, while working in his office, Baldwood received a letter, but without a sender's name. It was a Valentine's card containing a famous love poem. While Bathsheba doesn't take love seriously, Fanny Robin, her uncle's previous employee, is about to marry the man she's madly in love with, Sergeant Francis Troy, or Frank for short. The soldier arrived early at the church, waiting for his bride. Meanwhile, Miss Robin walks in a gray dress with her hair crowned with beautiful flowers. All are set in the church, including the priest, but no bride appears. Troy tells the priest that he will wait until Fanny Robin arrives. The beautiful maiden finally arrived at the church. She opened the door but was shocked that another wedding was held in the church. Fanny Robin cried, thinking that the soldier had canceled their wedding. Meanwhile, in another church where Sergeant Troy bravely stood in his uniform, he felt tired as hours passed by, but no bride came. Troy shed tears, trembling as he leaves the church. The two misunderstood the exact church where the wedding would be held. In fine weather, everyone on Bathsheba's farm woke up early to start the day. They are working enthusiastically, especially Gabriel, the new shepherd of the farm. Bathsheba was there and saw Mr. Oak bathing the sheep. She smiles as she watches Gabriel teasing her co-workers. Bathsheba was in a good mood, that Gabriel was able to invite her to join bathing the flock of sheep. The people cheered as they saw their boss mingling with them. Mr. Baldwood, who was just passing by, heard the joyful atmosphere at Bathsheba's farm. He went nearer and saw Bathsheba and her employees bathing the sheep. Mr. Baldwood smiled, admiring Ms. Everdean's gestures. He requested Liddy to call her madam if he could talk to her for a second. Bathsheba went out of the water and spoke with Mr. Baldwood. Mr. Baldwood brought the lady to his property. He proudly told her he had 1,000 acres of land, an orchard, a glass house, and livestock. After that, Mr. Baldwood welcomed the lady inside his house. Bathsheba was amused and looked around. Meanwhile, Mr. Baldwood looked nervous, and Bathsheba noticed that. She looked at him, and the bachelor went near. Mr. Baldwood told Miss Everdeen his intention to marry her. Like the previous proposal, Bathsheba declined. Mr. Baldwood didn't expect him to be rejected. He thought that Bathsheba was the one who sent the Valentine's card to him. Miss Everdeen did not deny it, but told the man she did not take it seriously when she sent it. The lady apologized to Mr. Baldwood. Regardless, the bachelor insisted and promised the lady that he would take care of her, give her a piano and everything she needed. Bathsheba sounded very independent as she told the man she had a piano and everything he offered. She doesn't need a husband, the lady added. Mr. Baldwood was dismayed and looked miserable. As Bathsheba noticed it, she told the man she would think again about his offer. Hearing that, Mr. Boldwood felt alive and told the lady he'd give her enough time. Bathsheba went home late. Bothered about Mr. Boldwood's proposal, she decides to walk around the barn before sleeping. There, she saw Gabriel, the shepherd, working overtime to sharpen a knife. She was glad as she saw him working passionately. She went in and tried sharpening the knives herself. Gabriel held her wrist to guide her, but Bathsheba removed it.